We all know that customer feedback is important, but here's what I find fascinating. Some business owners treat feedback like a complaint box, and they feel like they have to manage it, while others see it as a gold mine for innovation. The difference between these two approaches are really something that can literally transform your business. The most successful companies aren't just listening to their customers, they're turning those insights into breakthrough innovations for their businesses that nobody saw coming. Today, we have the pleasure of speaking with Christine Ierardi, who is a high ticket event strategist, and she's the founder of Women in Business. And she's also the creator of the Women in Business Icon event as well. We're going to transform or explore transforming everyday customer feedback into powerful innovation that drives real business growth. Welcome, Christine.
Well, thank you for having me, Jennifer. I'm excited to be here with you.
Did I say your name right?
You did. It was
All
perfect.
right.
You know,
Ierardi.
it's fun. Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I have known you in our community. I have seen you all over social, and you have a pretty amazing business. And I thought this just spoke to all of the things that you do. And I just want to get started because
Yeah.
I feel like this is such an appropriate topic for a lot of our business owners out there who are listening. So the foundation of customer feedback and tying it back into innovation. What's the difference between just collecting that customer feedback? Because people leave Google reviews, they leave Yelp reviews, all of those things, or you do have that little box at your business where they can drop in that card and tell you what they think. But what's the difference between actually collecting all of that feedback and then using it to drive innovation? And where do you see most businesses fall short in that area?
Definitely. Most businesses, I feel, will ask for that information or maybe not even ask for that. And that is usually the biggest one. They don't even ask for the feedback. And so they're just going on with their business, not really knowing how it's affecting their clients and customers. And that's the first thing. But when you actually ask for that information, use it for your benefit, for theirs. Because when you actually listen to the client, it's going to make your events, your business that much better for all of the other people that are coming into your world. And so I think it's really important to actually not only listen to it, but to implement it. Because when you start changing it, the one person that made that comment, it's going to actually, there's 5 other people that didn't share that information with you.
That's a very good point because I don't remember there was a statistic at one point. Ex customers say that they'll come to you and say they don't like what you're doing, but so many more are being silent and not saying anything. They're voting with their feet and just not coming back.
Correct. It's very
And
true.
and this is the way that you can actually do something about it. But I'm curious as to your experience with this. What was, or maybe there wasn't, maybe it was accumulation of things, but a specific moment that you saw the power of taking feedback and making changes, making innovation in one of your events that you've done, or maybe it was for a client.
Correct. I would say, honestly, the first brunch that I ever did, I created this space for myself because I was in an isolated relationship and I wanted that community with other business owners to be able to connect and collaborate.
Mhm.
And I went into it knowing I could put events on, but was this something that was actually needed? So I went in and I immediately asked for their opinions and what they thought. I did a survey at the end of the event because I really wanted to know. I wanted to make sure that this was going to be successful, right? And
Right.
so I think when we're open to it instead of taking it as a negative, that's when things can change for us. Instead of looking at it and saying, "Oh, she didn't like this or they didn't like that," instead of sitting in their shoes, right? And
Right.
thinking about their experience. Because with my events, that's something that's so important. It's the experience. And sometimes when you're on this side, you can't
Yeah.
experience it how they do. So
Mhm.
using that really has transformed how I do my events. For example, one of them, something so simple. I thought people 30 minutes was enough for them to connect. I thought people would love to sit down, but in reality, they wanted more time. And so if I didn't ask, what
Mhm.
they wanted or what could be better for them, I would have never known that. And they would have just felt rushed every time. So
Sure.
I've used that feedback. So now we have an hour, right, of connection time. Listen to what they're saying to you because they're telling you for a reason,
Right.
right?
Do you remember the first time you got that feedback and what it felt like?
Yeah,
A
with
feedback on one of your events.
yes. And at first it sinks in and you think, oh, I could have done, right?
Right.
You're like, oh, I didn't think about that. Why didn't I think of this? Right. Because I have done pop-up shops too before. So I've been around so many female entrepreneurs and that was something I didn't know when I started, right? How to do this, these events.
Mhm.
I just kind of started them. So when you get it, you thought, oh, I know what I'm doing, but then you get that feedback and it kind of hits you in the gut. But you could stay there in that feeling, or you can actually turn that into something that can really help and continue on. Because if you stay in that space, then your business might not succeed, right?
You're
Because
stuck.
you're just focusing on that feeling
Mhm.
instead of where can I expand and grow.
Right, exactly. Well, I mean, so you have your positive feedback and then you have your not so positive feedback.
Yes.
And what type have you seen? Positive, negative, in between, neutral? Sometimes neutral can be that X factor that you didn't see coming. But in your experience, which has been the most beneficial to innovating what you're doing?
Let's see. I think it's a combination of them, right? I think the positive is great because it gives you that boost to keep going. But
Mhm.
then when you get the ones that are, oh, maybe this, I didn't love this, it makes you think even more and dive deeper into your business. And I think the negative sometimes are the best because
Mhm.
now you have to spin it, right? And think of a different way. And how can I make this person's experience better? And
Mhm.
that's where the true innovation comes from because you really have to dive deeper.
Right. Do you keep this like in a notebook? Do you keep this in? How do you track that? How do you keep it as you're going through your events?
When I first started doing it, I would say I think I maybe even had them writing on forms, and
Mhm.
now everything is digital for me.
Sure.
So whether it's a QR code at the event and it's all in my CRM system. So I can go in and look at my surveys and see what people, what feedback they gave me. I love to do pre-event surveys too. I think this is important too, just to see who your clients are. What do they really want? Because if you don't ask, you're not going to know. And I think a lot of business owners get so buried in the business, they forget to stop and
Right.
ask what people
Mhm.
really want.
Because you're doing it for your the attendee. You're not doing it for yourself.
Correct.
That's hard sometimes. So there's a difference between when you're a solopreneur or maybe you only have one other employee versus somebody who has a whole team of people. And how do you train your team
Mm.
to listen and to be still enough to hear what's happening? Maybe it's at an event or it's in passing. How do you train them to have their ears open to that?
Right. I let them know, all of this feedback, while in the moment it might seem like you're being attacked or, it's not the best, just let them explain, right? The less talking you do and the more you hear from them, it's going to be better. And then we could take that information and get back to that client after, just taking
Mhm.
a breath on that. Because when we react, it's not going to be the best, in that moment. So you could just let the client know, our team member, let the client know, we are so thankful for your feedback and we will definitely respond to you. And whether it's your manager that's at your store, let's say, or potentially me, that we will definitely get back to you on this and make sure that it's taken care of for you. Because I think that's important. People just want to be heard at the end of the day.
But how do you, because I've been on the other end, I've been on the end of positive and negative and neutral.
Yes.
How do you set yourself up to knowing that no matter what, you're not going to please everyone, but when that feedback comes in, it can sting. It can hurt. How do you not take that personally when you're the owner of the company?
I think because we're human, right? Mistakes are going to happen and we have to be okay with that and just turn them into something positive. I'll use an example. I had my conference that we just did
Mhm.
and I have people fill out their information and then we create badges for them. And one lady was so upset. Her name was spelled wrong on the badge. And she wanted a new badge right then and there. Of course, that was not possible,
Mhm.
but I just went up. One of the people I work with came up to me and told me, and I went up to her and just let her know how sorry we were, right? Unfortunately, there's nothing I could do right now, but I will go and check on this and see what went wrong for you, right? So
Mhm.
it's just taking that time for the person. It was something that, I don't know, maybe it would have affected me at the event, right? Because you want it to be perfect,
Right.
but we're human. I can't be on top of every single name that I imported, and maybe just the way my CRM system went into my Canva file, something didn't align, right? But we have to give ourselves grace, right?
Mhm.
Mistakes happen, and imperfect action is better than no action,
That's
right?
very true. I have a saying, it's po buddy's nerfect. Because
Very true.
we're not.
Right.
And I guess once we start realizing that, it kind of drops that veil of terror, if you
Yeah.
will, when we start getting some of this feedback. Have you noticed the difference between feedback that leads to small improvements versus feedback that leads to really big breakthroughs in your business? Is there a difference, or is it all kind of the same?
I honestly look at it all the same because I think that the feedback, no matter what it is going to impact what I do and the business. And when you look at it that way, I think it really makes the big difference. So in the business. So I don't find anything too small like that. Even that little thing on her, name badge made me look at maybe something's not connecting, right? So what is different there? And it did affect her experience. So that
Exactly.
matters.
It wasn't big for one person, but it could be big for someone else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So now I want to move into actually how you collect the right feedback, and what, in your experience, have you realized were the most effective ways to actually gather this kind of intel, if you will, that led to innovation? Because you can have your surface level complaints or your surface level, yay, you did a great job, because it's also good to know what you're doing well so you can keep doing it. But what's the most effective way to gather that information?
Honestly, if for events, the day of is the best. Of course, I do things virtually, but even sometimes the paper in front of the person is going to make the huge difference. And
Mhm.
keeping these questions open ended. Don't give them an answer. Letting them have a bigger space to write what they want. What did you feel we did best today? What do you
Mhm.
think we could work on? And even leaving another one. What comments or what would you like to see that we didn't have? And that opens it up for them to really give the feedback that they want. We're not limiting them with, what did you like this speaker? What, like, or was this speaker good? Yes or no, right? You
Trying to get the answer that you want to get.
yes, yes, or right.
It
Exactly.
was all great. It was all great. And it was all great.
We're like, great, this is perfect. We did amazing.
Yay.
Yeah. So keeping the questions open to getting negative feedback,
Mhm.
right? And I think that makes it even better instead of just hearing things are great. Because when that happens, then nothing really changes.
Right.
You don't get the honest feedback.
And I guess that goes part and parcel with asking the right questions, because you, I guess it goes along with as well, yeah, to getting your customers to give you their deeper frustrations.
Hmm.
Because
Yes.
there's one thing where, there's always a story, there's always another story that we're not hearing, right? To get them to share those deeper frustrations, is it the same way? Is it just asking those open ended questions?
I think so. I use a lot, even with getting just information, excuse me, on my clients. I'll ask them, what's your biggest struggle in your business right now?
Hmm.
Opening them up to that, to continue to give that information. Because if I just said, are you having trouble with your email? And maybe that's not what their issue is at all, but they're going to answer that. That doesn't help me, right? Because everyone is different. And so I
Hmm.
think that's why with the open ended, it really makes a big difference. I've noticed that because then you're kind of limiting them and putting it in a box when you give them just answers you think, that they should answer,
Right.
right?
So there's the customers who actually speak up and give you that feedback, but then you're also going to have customers who just choose to not come back, right?
Hmm.
And do you reach out to them if you notice that, hey, they haven't come to my event in 6 months and I've had one every month? Or do you reach out to them and say, hey, what could we have done better? Or we haven't seen you. Is that something that you could do?
That is something that I could definitely do. I will say I personally haven't done that much. I've done it a few times when I notice, if
Mhm.
it's, even a sponsor, someone that was sponsoring, right? And if they maybe decided to go another route, and sometimes it's financial, right? But you like to know, and that is a good way to go about it and reach out to them. I don't want to call it pushy by doing that, but I almost don't want to pry sometimes. I know
Sure.
that feedback is valuable, but sometimes I am like, okay, if they don't want to share, but I will, I think want an email or maybe just a message one time to just see what's going on would
Mhm.
be really beneficial.
Right. Because maybe that can lead you to yet another gap that
Definitely.
you didn't know,
Yes,
and it could change something. You could
for
get
sure.
somebody
I,
else. Because so many times we have people who just don't show back up.
yeah. And
And
it is, and we can track that, there with
Mhm.
tasks and things, but sometimes it's difficult to track, right? Who isn't? But I think you notice when, if someone was coming all the time and then they're just not
Right.
there, like, what happened?
Right, where did you go?
Yeah.
Do you have a process from the moment you collect it and then taking those insights that you're learning and trying to distill it down into an actionable step
Hmm.
to implement a suggestion, for example? Do you have a process around that?
Honestly, my process is pretty much immediate.
Hmm.
I will look at it and I will immediately write it down and see how we can do it for the next event. Someone had this great suggestion from the last conference, right? And if I didn't ask, I wouldn't have even thought about it. But in that space we had one room at our conference. Now we're doing a 2 day and we have more space. We do headshots. And someone said, usually these are done in another room so that you can have privacy, right? And I was like, that is a great, that's so smart. Obviously, we didn't have the space here to do that, but now with the 2 day, that I'm writing this down immediately. This is a great idea. We could do something completely different, really create that exclusive experience for people, and they're going to be more comfortable in the space doing that. I saw it differently because people are able to go throughout the event and take even more headshots. We kind of did it free flowing, but now this is a great way that you get your set time, you can feel comfortable,
Hmm.
different ways to look at it. But immediately I put that down because when you leave it, you're going to forget it. So you
Right.
have to really write it down, even have a note, in your phone that
Hmm.
your suggestions that you can do for, even if you don't have the event. My event's next year, but you're planning for it now, right? So, and it's fresh and in your mind. And so I
Hmm.
think that just having it ready and set up for your next event is really helpful to do that, or whatever your
Right.
business is.
So you do it immediately, but let's say you get some comments that you're like, I don't know how that I can do this immediately. How do you compartmentalize this I can do immediately and this I can't? Is there kind of a way that you look at it to
I
figure it
think
out?
if you write these things down or have a space for it, so another feedback we got, and so we implemented something else. People don't, not everyone loves fish, right? We do this at Sea Salt. And so the food option, and I said, okay, I can't do something about it right now, but what will this look like for me in the future? And I
Mhm.
start to think about it, then write some notes and figure it out, and then work, reach out to the restaurant. Can we have options? Could we make it this? And ask them, do they have, put it in the survey, right? So I do the pre-event survey so people can give feedback on the food selection and let them know the menu, right? So it's just
Mhm.
using what you can in that moment, but then keeping it in your mind and keeping those notes so that you can adjust and
Right.
figure out what's going to be the best thing, even if it's not right in that moment.
But then you also have to look at it as, is this from this feedback, what they're suggesting, is that the best investment
Hmm.
for my event or for my business, right?
Correct. And like I said, if we were still doing our event at the Naples Grand this coming year, her suggestion for doing the photos in another space wouldn't work, right?
Mhm.
But so I would have to maybe adjust it in a new way. But it was great feedback that I would essentially be able to use at another time.
Right.
So it's good to know that not everything needs to be done right away. You have to
Mhm.
work for what you can do in your business at that time, or
Right.
even just adjusting it a little.
So how do you not, and I, at risk of being, I how do you not feel like you're going crazy when you're getting all this feedback and everybody wants something different? And, sifting it out to knowing, I guess it's knowing what will work best for your event, but making sure that you're not losing sight
Mm.
of what you want your event to be like, but still taking into account what your customers are asking for.
Correct. That's a great question. And I think when you start to see a problem or what people want, and a lot of people are sharing that with you, I think you can focus on that more than just
Mhm.
sporadic, oh, we didn't like this meal or this wasn't good, and just like random things that people say throughout. But when you start to see multiple people sharing the same thing or they
Yeah.
want the same thing or need that, and I think that's when you can focus on that because then you really have to take a look at, yes, this is what I want, but these are the people that I want here also, right? These are the
Right.
people that I want to help. So I need
Mhm.
to look at it that way now in a different light than just what I specifically want, right?
Sure. So when you're creating a new event, do you think about all of the things that you've done in past events and kind of mesh them all together to create one, like in your brain,
Mind.
the perfect
The
event?
perfect. Yes. I,
Don't
I
you think, right?
I do, and it's very true. You have to. And I look back at things as well, even with my clients, something so simple that people forget when they are hosting events are either a garbage or
Oh,
napkin,
yes.
right? People always forget that, or cleaning things up. And it's so simple, but it's something we forget. So just bringing all of that in, little things that you forget. And, obviously I know this now, but it's little things like that that you remember, like, okay, this didn't work here. This worked well here, and that's how you can really create that event or your business, right? What's working well. And like I said too, when I'm creating something new, I ask people, what do they actually want? And of course it has to be something that, I'm passionate about, or
Right.
they're not, not, it's not going to be great then, right? You're just like, here, I made this for you. I don't have any passion in it. This is for you. So, yeah. Hope it's good.
Do you have a checklist? I'm curious. Do you have a checklist as you're dreaming up new events and you're like, okay, I have to, is that how you do that?
I do have checklists. I make checklists for everything, for my week, for, making sure everything's there and it's detailed,
Mhm.
because then we just get so caught up in what we're doing, we can forget. So I think it's really
Mhm.
important to have that, to stay organized, and structure is good to have.
Right. Right. So you get the feedback from your customers, your event attendees. You make that change. Now, how do you transition to closing that loop from the original, that person that said this to the actual innovation?
Well, first of all, I will reach out to the people that gave the feedback and thank them for that, which I think is
Mhm.
important because so many times they feel they just shared and they're not getting any feedback from you as well. So I think that's very important to acknowledge, good or bad. Thank you for
Mhm.
taking your time to do this and helping. And so, the loop, it closes when you decide what's going to work and what you're going to implement, but it
Mhm.
continues. It's ongoing, right? So something's going to be different for everyone at every event, even if you're doing it perfectly, right?
Mhm.
And like I said, even the badge goes, it's different.
No,
Like
it's
that's going to come
cool.
up again,
It's a
right? You
real
could.
thing. It's living, it's breathing, it's not static.
Correct. And that's why.
Mhm.
So I think it's a continuous loop, right? It just keeps
Mhm.
going, but you're able to, it's not overwhelming because you're doing it strategically. You're doing it when, let's say you did this a few times a year for your business, right? And it's not every event that you have, but a few times a year, checking in with the clients that are coming in.
Right.
Is my team doing what they're supposed to, right?
Mhm.
and then you can work with that, and it's going to get better. It's going to improve, obviously, right? So your feedback is going to be a little bit less, and
Right.
that's when it makes it, all worth it when you're
Right.
asking.
So, what are some examples that you have in your business that, or maybe in other businesses that you've seen that seemed small, inconsequential, that really ended up having a big impact that you never thought that would be the case?
Let's see. That's a good question. What will we about on that one? I mean, maybe it's the badge that I didn't think.
Hmm.
No, I think even just the feedback on that little bit of time extra for people to connect. I didn't think that they even wanted that, right? And so I think it's so much more powerful now that they have that time and they're not rushed. And that, to me, I was like, do they really want that? I felt like they were just standing there, right?
Right. But they were doing something purposeful with
Right,
it.
exactly. I was like, "Oh, I need to sit them down," but now
Mhm.
that's something that I wouldn't have thought of, and it's so small, right? Just adding a little bit more time for them when they're just connecting. So
Mhm.
just little things like that make a huge difference in the feel and experience of the events. And what
Right.
else, you know, even as I mentioned, the food selection. To me, I'm just a foodie, so I eat everything. So I don't think about it. But it matters to people. That's an experience, right? Another part of your senses, really, right? That's what it
Mhm.
is. And if that's not being satisfied, then their experience, it doesn't matter what happened at the event. Now their experience is ruined
Right.
just from the meal, right? So it's
Mhm.
like little things like that we just we're in our business so much that those little tweaks really can make
Right.
huge difference.
And sometimes that comes from outside people telling us because we don't always see it.
Exactly. Because we're kind of in this broader vision of what we want and want to help with. So these little nuances or little things, they really matter
Mhm.
even more than this big picture that we see, right?
Right, exactly.
Tiny details.
So as we're wrapping up, I know that we have listeners who are immersing themselves in this episode and they're like, you know what, I want to get better at this. I want to get better at collecting the feedback and actually doing something with it and maybe doing something innovative with it that's going to move the needle in my business. If you have advice, what's one piece of advice that you would give our listeners to take the first step to today?
Yeah. Ask your audience. Send an email out to your email list. Put a story on social media and ask,
Mhm.
maybe it's what's your biggest struggle or what are you looking to do with your business in 6 months, depending on what it is, or fashion wise, right? Yeah, all different things that you can ask. Like, where do you want to see yourself with your fashion, right? In a few months, or what does that look like to you?
Mhm.
And just asking, because so often we're just doing and we don't stop. And once you ask, people are going to tell you they want to share their opinions. You could do a
Mhm.
post on social media too.
Right.
Make it simple. You don't need to have a whole form or survey. Just ask a question, right? And
Sometimes simpler is easier.
mhm. And then just take that data, take screenshots, or now you have it in your emails, and
Mhm.
make a Google Doc on that information that you have or in your notes. And now you can use that and really look into it and say, what can I adjust right now?
Mhm. That's great advice. We're going to move on to the final four. Are you ready for the final four?
I think so.
Like, what's the final four? The
Yeah.
final four are four questions that I ask every guest who are on my show. And I excited to always hear what these answers are to these questions because it's very fascinating. And I've gotten really some great advice and great information from this. So the first question is, what is your favorite book that you've read and what made it stick with you?
Okay. Well, I'm going to be transparent here. I don't necessarily read the books, I listen to them, but it
That's
was the
okay.
Mel Robbins, Let Them.
Oh, great book.
I love this because we get so caught up in sometimes we see people that are copying us or doing, the
Hmm.
same thing. And you just have to let them because you know what? They're never going to be you. Right.
Right.
So, and that's actually something I'm teaching now. I'm sharing my brunch and
Mhm.
what I do with the brunch and how to make it successful for everyone's business, because we can all do the same thing and be successful. Right. And I just love that. And so it's just a mindset shift for me. And that's why I love it. Because when I see it, I'm just like, let them or be.
It's great advice because honestly, like your events, they're a fingerprint. They're different. They're going to be different if I did one, if you did one, because it has your spin on it. So that was a really great book. Do you have a favorite quote or favorite piece of advice that you find yourself coming back to time and time again?
I would say, and this is something I've been sharing too, no matter what you're doing in your business, if you're getting mentorship, learning something new, remember who you are and to stay authentic to yourself. Because just because someone's doing ABC, XYZ for their business doesn't mean you have to do every single step that they're doing. Make it work for you and take what you're learning that's new and implement it into your business. But it doesn't need to be exact because you want it to be about you. And I think it's really important.
It's your journey.
Yes, for sure.
What is one habit or practice that has genuinely changed your life?
Honestly, praying at night all the time. And I just sit in prayer and I just I'm open to it, right? So I just want to be fed whatever I need to be fed at that time, and being open to change and to just, new things, right? So it really changed things for me because I'm able to just let things go kind of, or come up with a new idea and do it. So
awesome.
Really changed things for me. Yeah.
And then if you could have dinner with anyone,
oh my goodness,
whether they're living or not, who would that be and why would you want to have dinner with them?
This is a good question. This is something I don't even know. I know it really is. Living or I don't even know if it would be who would be. I would just say someone that is more successful than me, I would say. And just so I could pick their brain and see what were some of the things that worked for you that could take me to the next level, and, maybe find out their personality a little bit better. And really, because I think the mindset is a big thing too. And so while I don't know the person that I would want to have dinner with,
that's okay.
Yeah, someone that I could just get their experiences and see what their life looked like, how they got there, and just, see what.
There's that learning part again that you just talked about.
Yeah.
Being able to and willing and open to learning from people.
Yes. It's so important because we don't know everything, right?
We shouldn't. We should never walk in being the smartest person in the room.
I agree. And it's getting in those rooms. I love it. It's so important.
Absolutely. I have thoroughly enjoyed our time together. If our listeners would like to get a hold of you, how can they do so?
Definitely. You can go, if you're local to Southwest Florida, you can go to wibswfl.com. That's all about the women in business. And then my other website, if you want to go to my masterclass, which talks all about my events, that is eventsthatsell.com.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Christine, for being on my show today.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And thank you to my listeners.